Testing, 1, 2. All right, I'm on. How's everyone going? Now, technically, we have a couple minutes before I'm supposed to begin. You're really fortunate to get here early. Obviously, these few seats here will be snapped up in any moment now. Please don't hurt yourselves rushing to the front for the premier seating. This is actually my first time here at Big Camp here in Victoria. And so it's a lot of fun when you go to an event you haven't been to before, but you have all that same, I guess you know when you're an Adventist and you show up at an Adventist event, things look familiar, they feel familiar, the lingo, the food, all that kind of good stuff. So it's like you go to a new place and you still feel like home. Has anyone traveled around the world or around the country and felt that way? When you join another Adventist community, you realize, oh, I feel like I've just stepped across town. It's really good. Now, are we okay with slides? Do I need to advance? Just want to make sure we're ready to rock and roll here. Okay, excellent. And then is my remote working? Should I test it quickly? I'll give it a little click and see. Oh, it's working. Oh, guys, we're going to have fun today. We're going to have fun today. All right, my name is Darren Hagan. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not actually from Australia originally. I know you wouldn't know by my accent. You probably think I'm from Alice Springs, but I'm actually from California. And it is a real treat to be here. I've worked at Sanitarium for 10 years, this month actually. And I'm hoping they'll name one of the meeting rooms after me. I think maybe they do that for 10 years. I'm not sure how that works. It's a really great place to work. I will give you just a fun little nugget as I kick off here. I feel it's kind of surreal for me to work at Sanitarium because I feel a little like I'm cheating on a close family friend. William Kellogg put my grandmother through medical school and was a close family friend. We have letters at home from him. His signature is the Kellogg logo. It's all the real deal. And so I feel a bit funny working for the competition. But I like to think that the competition has a little more truth to the health message and the health ministry of the church, which is a really nice resonance for me. Now, you'll notice Sanitarium Health and Wellbeing Group. I know we think of Sanitarium Health Food Company, we know that well, but this is really a group of organizations, and it really spans the globe in 6 different countries, exporting to 40 different markets. But it all starts with purpose, changing lives every day through whole person health. This is one uniting purpose, and in an age when it's very popular for companies to, oh, quick, we should get a purpose, so we sound like we're not just trying to make money. And they dream up these wonderful grand statements. To think that 125 years ago, 126 years ago next month actually, we were born in purpose. We started in purpose. We had people working in those early days that didn't even get a paycheck, and the company would try to pay their rent on their homes to keep things going in those first few years. It was a real passionate group of people who wanted to make it an impact. So 125 years this current year, and it's been a lot of fun to celebrate. Let's just take a moment and just reflect on that for a moment. We may not have audio, but we can still enjoy. Does anyone recognize?
Helping people to eat well and move more. And giving food and hope to people in need. Sanitarium, serving goodness since 1898.
Did anyone see some familiar ads? Some familiar packaging you haven't seen in a little while? So 125 years of serving goodness, that's what it is for us. And there's actually a name for your 125th anniversary. So if any of you reach 125 years, you can say that you're celebrating your quasquicentennial. Try saying that with me, quasquicentennial. Don't hurt yourself in the process. It's quite a fancy word, but there actually is a word for it. It's 125 years of serving goodness, and we had celebrations right across Sanitarium Health Food Company. We had special commemorative gifts sent out to the group employees worldwide, over 2,000 employees worldwide at the church's businesses and the health food ministry of the church. But one I want to focus on that was really special and really meaningful was when we had an event we invited retirees of Sanitarium, the people who've really devoted their careers to Sanitarium. We brought them back to Avondale University. We had the cafeteria there, all dressed up, looking beautiful, and we had people coming and reconnecting after many years apart, hadn't seen each other in a long time, sharing great memories of working at Sanitarium together, truly like a family, the way it is even today. And it was great to see people feeling appreciated, because you finish your career, you wonder, does it actually matter? I've done my time. But really, without the efforts of these people, there's no way we'd be where we are today. And so it was really great to say that thanks and express that thanks. We had Glenn Townend, our division president, was there to speak. We had the Speaker of the House for New South Wales there. Our local member of Parliament was there. Kevin Jackson, our CEO, Todd Saunders, our executive general manager, were all there to pay big thanks to these people. And it was really a lot of fun to see everyone light up. And you can even see in that bottom image there one of the original Sanitarium delivery trucks. And that was actually found out in a field in Tasmania. And for our 100th anniversary in 1998, they restored that. And so whenever you are fortunate enough to see that out on display, you'll see pictures of the restoration process. But it was really nice to touch on the past in our 120th anniversary year. Now, I mentioned we sent gifts out to more than 2,000 Sanitarium group employees worldwide. That's possibly the biggest bit of news for some of you here if you haven't really been keeping closely in touch with Sanitarium. It is really a group of businesses, a group of organizations that Sanitarium has set up, the church has set up and owns right around the world. And I wonder back to 1898 in those early years, imagine those pioneers of Sanitarium and the health mission of the church. What would they think to think that what they started and their dedication and passion and commitment to the mission of the church would turn out to be a global group, 6 countries of operations, 40 export markets around the world. What a powerful change that is from those early days. But let's just take a look at how the group has performed. So just financial performance, record sales despite having demand that outstrips supply. We have a wonderful challenge at Sanitarium. We're having a hard time making enough Weet-Bix, making enough So Good, making enough Up and Go. It's tough to keep up. Now, of course, it's easy for me to say that. I work in the corporate communications function, so we get to talk about how things are nice. When you're on the ground having to implement new machinery, keep things running optimally, oh no, something's broken, we've lost the line for a few hours, that's not my world. So I do have a privileged position in the company, but we have fantastic people on the task. We've installed a new 65 million liter beverage line, a new 70 million sleeve Up and Go line, sleeves referring to those individual packets of Up and Go. And our forecast suggests that in about 3 years' time, those will be at absolute maximum capacity again. So we're really in great growth right now. We're commissioning additional Weet-Bix biscuit lines and Weet-Bix bite lines this year. That's all in progress. We purchased Pioneer Foods in the UK. Now, this is a business you may or may not remember hearing that Sanitarium started a cereal company in the UK back in the late 90s. We then sold it 5 years later to Bacomo Foods in South Africa. And we put a clause when we sold it to them that if you ever sell this, we want first rights. Well, PepsiCo, who owns Bacomo Foods, they decided they wanted to sell it. We exercised that right and got the business for a deal. The auditors, when they were reviewing the transaction, remarked how they could not believe we managed to acquire that business for the price we did. So we're very fortunate to have that. And of course, Vitality Works, our health and well-being services business, is doing really well. A big shift from all the vaccination support in remote and disadvantaged communities around Australia, partnering with a government. That was a big raise in the business. That's pulled back, but really good strength in the core business. And in the process, be aware that Vitality Works serves some of the top flight businesses and highest profile businesses in Australia. Think of Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, KPMG, Lang O'Rourke. But let's look at the overall performance, what that amounts to, that growth percentage. So we've never really been in this territory before for the church's business here in the South Pacific Division. But I can tell you, this is last financial year's final total, just under $950 million of sales revenue. That's not the profits that go back to the church. All of our profits do go to the church, but that's not how much goes back to the church. We're great, but we're not quite that great. But this is the sales turnover. This represents transactions happening, Weet-Bix being scanned at Woolies and Coles, health and well-being services happening at, say, Hungry Jack's for all their employees that Vitality Works does. That's $949 million. But what that means is this year, projections are that we will become a $1 billion group. We will exceed $1 billion in sales revenue. I can tell you, yeah, you can clap at that, actually, if you'd like to. I mean, that's absolutely astounding. Again, going back to 1898, I can't imagine that they would ever even have the wildest dreams. They would have this level of footprint, this level of scale of impact and presence in the world. But I will say this, as a Seventh-day Adventist who's grown up in America, I am not used to church-owned businesses that do this well. We have got such high-caliber people who have all the skills, all the know-how from food science to commercial, marketing, manufacturing, logistics, right through the business, and yet such a passion and dedication to why Sanitarium exists, that core purpose behind it. So it's a really exciting time to be around the Sanitarium business, to be working in it. But I hope after this presentation, you'll genuinely feel excited to have this be our business, that we as church members have a stake in. Now, let's just start with some updates from around the group. Of course, Sanitarium Health Food Company, we know this one really well and probably the most well-known among the group domestically here in Australia and New Zealand. And we're really focusing on healthy meal occasions. We know breakfast, of course, but even with Veggie Delights, right across the day, what are those meal occasions where we can provide healthy alternatives and great innovative products? Now, some of these products you may see in the marketplace, but don't even know them as Sanitarium brands, and you're going to get a chance to taste one of these. We have some samples at the end of the presentation of our flavored oat milk, Total. So we've come into the marketplace where you've got people having oat and dare and all that stuff. Well, we come in with an alternative that's plant-based. It's got fortification of calcium, B vitamins. It's got a lot of good stuff in there. So if you're tempted, well, let's just move your hand this way to something that's a little bit better for you, another alternative to drift you in the right direction. You'll find that in the petrol and convenience channel, we call it. Although that's now called energy and convenience because of electric cars. So all that lingo is already changing in the industry to how they're making their plans going forward. We have PB Nutrition. You'll see a pouch there on the left-hand side of the screen. This is a plant-based meal replacement shake. It's sold direct to consumers. That's new for us. We generally sell things through your Kohl's, Woolies, IGA, et cetera, but this is direct to consumer, so that's a bit of a new play for us. Our Cafe Milks, the alternative dairy company, those we were thinking this might be a $5 million brand back in 2018 when we started it. We'd be really happy if it was a little $5 million brand. It's on course to cross $100 million. And if you ever see a cafe, you will always see our oat milk. Guaranteed, you'll see the red packet, but you'll also see increasingly the almond, the blue, and the soy, the yellowish orange color. So you'll notice those in cafes, and if you're ever in a cafe having a hot drink, be sure you ask for that one as well. So Alternative Dairy Co., we are now producing each week 5 million individual packets of Up & Go. In a week, 5 million. Over 2 million liters of plant-based milk in 1 week. The scale of what we're doing and producing is absolutely incredible. We recently acquired the Lynn Fox distribution facility. We've been staring at head office across the street. It's on Sanitarium Drive, but it's not ours. Well, it's ours now. The church purchased that. And it's a 30,000 square foot facility. So right now we have about 26,000 pallets in our current distribution center. We turn through that about every 3 weeks. So we're now going to get to move into this larger facility, pull in some of our other warehouses. We've had to even hire out warehouse space across the state of New South Wales to manage our stock. We get to bring that all under one roof. So really big, exciting moves happening for Sanitarium. Now, over in New Zealand, Life Health Foods, this is all about the meals, the dips, that space, soups, etc. They've been going under a real transformation process. The plant-based meal space, the vegetarian meat alternative space is a really challenging space. We see a lot of that stuff, and as vegetarians, we're proud to see, oh, good, lots of vegetarian stuff. But I will tell you, it is not easy to turn a profit, to bring something in for those efforts. So we hear with a splash of money that everyone's spending, all these big brands. None of them are making money on it. So we're the ones who've been around a long time. We're making sure our business is fortified and solid to be the last one standing when everything shakes out. We're not out there doing all this crazy venture capital, irresponsible, wild spending. We're really running a responsible, strong business. So Life Health Foods in New Zealand, going through that transformation to make sure they're built to last for the long term. And they shift away from tofu production, for example. If you're familiar with the Kiwi market, they produced a lot of tofu, shifting away from that market, but really focusing their core range, which like Lisa's Dips, Bean Supreme, those brands that do so well over there. So we really expect that business to thrive in the long term as they go through that process. Now let's get just a little bit further afield and more exotic when we think about China. China, what's breakfast cereal? Well, we have to kind of show them what breakfast cereal is. So back in 2015, 2016, we'd been selling Wheat Bix into that market for about 8 years. One of our in-country distributors decided to get clever and got a product placement on the Chinese version of, I don't know, Friends? Like, big TV show over there. And it shows up in one scene where they're pulling some Wheat Bix out and having it during a scene. Next minute, you can't find Wheat Bix on the shelves. You've got buyers with a connection to China walking out with trolleys stacked full of Wheat Bix, trying to sell them for $40, $50 a box back to China. So the game changed a lot, but we realized we needed to approach it with a different brand name because Weetabix over in the UK is owned by a Chinese company. So we saw trademark potential coming down the track. So we wanted to build solidly, so we call it Nutribrex, and that's a brand we've been using in the UK for gluten-free Wheat Bix in the UK. So Nutribrex in China, now the #2 cereal in China. And most of these sales happening online. It's a little tough at the moment because there's so much demand. We've been short supplying them probably 20 containers a month of what they actually need. We haven't been able to supply them, so managing that, that's that challenge. But once we can really get all that capacity back up for manufacturing, we expect to be the #1 cereal in China. But there's something really interesting happening the past couple months. We bring these social media influencers from China, not from China, they actually live here in Australia, but they have Chinese audiences. We bring them over to Berkeley Vale to our head office and to our distribution warehouse there, and they just want to set up and do live stream for 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours sometimes, and it's kind of like the home shopping channel. They're just sitting there hawking Wheat Bix. Here's how you have it, dipping it in yogurt, eating it. Of course, the guy can't talk for about 5 minutes after that if you've ever tried Wheat Bix with yogurt and no milk. This is just a little clip of one of these guys. He goes by Jack. He's got 4.7 million followers. And this is what it's like when someone's selling Wheat Bix on social media.
管不住嘴，所以呢，为了调和一下口感好吃，就做成了低糖的，对吧？那里边的营养呢也不缺的，对吧？所以你去拍一号更容易去坚持。如果后边呢，你可以改成这个没有添加蔗糖的好吧？拍2盒，顶哥给大家安排一个原厂的304食品级的不锈钢的杯子，里边。
Now, he's taking questions from the audience because this audience think he's great, but what's the Wheat Bix thing? How do you eat it? This is not a typical Chinese breakfast, so they're asking, but they have enormous trust in Australian wheat, Australian manufactured products. That's all manufactured here and sent over because they trust what's manufactured here more than their own food manufacturing in China. So quite a different space for us to be in, but very exciting things happening with China. And we have a dedicated team of 7 in China and in Shanghai who just made their first trip to head office about a month ago, actually. Fun to meet them face to face. In India, So Good, #1 plant-based milk brand. We just launched oat over the past year there, so oat milk's going really well. You can see an example of some of the TV spots they do there. I guess you would imagine India, kind of Bollywood, very dance-oriented or moving around, being really festive and energetic and excited. We probably would be a little more skeptical in that kind of a commercial here, I suppose. But really exciting, and a lot of online sales happening because delivery is 24/7 these days, especially in India. But we have a team of 50 to 60 employees there, and when you think about a salesperson, here they might have a car of their own, they go drive around to the stores. There they're going by train, by scooter, moped, going to little mom and pop shops, going to all these little individual spots. It's a very different way of selling, but they're really having great success over there in India with 20% growth this last financial year. Now back to my home country, over in the United States of America, we have a majority stake this year that we've moved up to a majority stake in Wayfair Foods. They make the best sour cream, dairy-free sour cream, butter, cheese spreads, and whole food-based plant-based yogurts, actually. So not just coconut oil, but using legumes and oats and things like that to really have good fiber and good substance to a plant-based yogurt. But it's really tough for a small business to get distribution at scale in the big players over there. Safeway's over there, Rayleigh's, Vaughn, some of those big names, Koger. So that's the challenge they have, is trying to really get distribution at scale. But now having our majority stake, we now get to come to the table with our group expertise, the long history of success we have working with Kohl's, working with Woolworths. We can bring that to bear with this business over there in the United States. And I'm looking forward to going over when I visit family in June, July. I'm definitely going to be putting my order into stock up on this because I've been dying to try it myself. So I'm very excited. But Wayfair Foods, again, part of that global scale. Back to the United Kingdom. I mentioned we purchased Pioneer Foods. It goes now under the Life Health Foods UK brand. We had previously been selling Nutribrex gluten-free version of Wheat Bix, which is made in Carmel factory over in Perth, and also Up and Go, which is manufactured over there. So that was an existing brand, but now it's really scaled up with 400 employees at this business that run 2 manufacturing plants. So a really exciting opportunity to have a much bigger footprint in the UK and really extending then into Europe because of the distribution channels. They focus a lot on private label manufacturing and small brand manufacturing, so granolas, cereals, even some of these fruit-based snacks for kids. So a lot of exciting things happening in the UK with Life Health Foods UK. Now, we've talked a lot about food, manufacturing food, but we have Vitality Works that's all about health and well-being services. So almost 500,000 lives touched this last financial year by our services in one form or another right across Australia and New Zealand. Now, I mentioned we were recalibrating after being a key partner in the government's vaccination rollout to disadvantaged communities, low socioeconomic communities, and then remote communities that don't always have access to those same services. That's now scaling back. So we saw a drop in the revenue for that business reflective of that, but the core business, the thing they've always been doing all along, is actually growing and going really well. And that the partnership with the government actually introduced us to businesses who weren't familiar yet with us. So we're now signing on some new clients with long-term contracts. Now, back over in the United States, in the UK, we have a partnership called Thrive. This is a UK-based entity that has an app that's meant to support workplace mental well-being. And so we have a new exciting partnership to bring that to Australia and New Zealand and offer that to our corporate clients. The CHIP program, we all know the CHIP program very well. So over in the United States, the CHIP program, it's now branded in the US as Pivio. So if you ever hear that name, that's what that's referring to, the Pivio program. But the CHIP program in the United States being tested out and having great response with some of the major health insurance providers and healthcare providers. So one of them being Kaiser Permanente. Have you heard that name before float around, Kaiser? My parents are with Kaiser. It's actually a very good health plan. But they now want to start rolling this out because obviously if you can get people to just live a healthy lifestyle, you have lower healthcare costs. If only we can get more people to see this, the benefit of living a true healthy lifestyle. So really promising things over there in the United States. In the UK, the National Health Service, they had a trial of one of their health districts. They rolled out the CHIP program in the UK. It went so well, they want to now start rolling that out to other health districts and expanding. So this is really exciting validation of the things that we've known all along, but we can package it up in a way that's accessible for people. They can work with it and they can take it on. We get a chance to have a much bigger footprint than the work we're already doing. And of course, out in the Pacific, there's the Live More Abundantly program, and this is where we've taken the CHIP program and the expertise behind that and the intelligence behind that CHIP program and rolled it out in a way that works in the Pacific. It's part of that 10,000 Toes initiative. Who's heard of 10,000 Toes? Yeah, so again, there's actually a lot of nice interplay between the church entities. So you think about the health, food, and health and well-being services, and then you have ADRA, a fantastic development partner. We get to partner up in a smart way to make a greater impact than what we would do separately on our own. So really exciting things happening with Vitality Works. Now, all this exciting stuff happening, it doesn't happen without good people, and you don't have good people without a good place to work, good workplace culture, and having a real purpose-driven workplace culture. We have to attract the best and the brightest at Sanitarium. And we've invested in workplace culture since 2011, so it's been a consistent investment to make sure we have the long-term view. We want to be a great place to work, constructive work environment. We actually won a prestigious award from Human Synergistics. They're one of the leading global consultancies in workplace culture. We won the Cultural Transformation Award, and our results were so outstanding that their national conference in Melbourne and in Sydney this past year, they invited Sanitarium to be the keynote speakers. And so Todd Saunders, Executive General Manager, Peter Hartnett, our General Manager for HR, People and Culture, they went and gave presentations because everyone wanted to know, what are you doing at Sanitarium? How is it you're getting this kind of cultural transformation? And so they wanted to know what we've done. And so it was really great to be seen as experts in that space and be able to share those learnings and know that that's the kind of workplace we're able to foster for the people at Sanitarium. Now, workplace culture also depends on identity. And I mentioned purpose. Purpose is a very important core of our identity. Everything connects back into that purpose. But you have to put that into action. So the way you put that into action in a workplace is through your values. You've got to have values that people can look to. This guides the way I do my work every day. And so I work in corporate communications, so one of the things I want to do is make sure our employees understand our values, they get it, they put them into action. But I could just bang on about it and say, hey, values are great, guys, values are great. I'm lucky at Sanitarium we have a really clever way of embedding these values. It's through our Spirit of Sanitarium Awards program. Our employee awards are not based on you being a good employee, being a hard worker, not even being a nice employee. It's how well you living out the Sanitarium values. That's the recognition piece. And so this program's been alive since 2003, so 21 years so far. And it's been a great way of embedding those values, rewarding, recognizing people for living the values, and keeping that as our secret sauce as an organization. Part of the reward, you'll see a picture here in the top right corner. Part of the reward is that you, as a site recipient for your area of the business, you get to go on an international community project, partnering with ADRA. One of their on-ground projects might be in Samoa, it might be in Vietnam. However, COVID, of course, threw all that out the window. So this year, for the first time since 2019, we're able to revive that program and go back on a trip. So we had people from China, from the UK for the first time, went on this trip and experienced what it's like to go to another country, serve other people in another environment, and also learn about the work of ADRA, the sustainable development work ADRA does as an excellent provider in those countries. And I'll just give you a little taste of what that experience was like for our employees. I'll tell you, those employees will never forget that experience. And just to give you an example of, the way ADRA does something versus people just going out into a country and trying to do something nice as a one-off, this is the way ADRA thinks and the way we align with that thinking. They went there to install a latrine block and a hand washing block. Now that doesn't sound exciting, does it? We just take that for granted here. But imagine if you don't have good sanitation, what that does to your prospect of having a long, healthy life. And for this project, there's a long-range vision. So it's nice to have that improves sanitation, but there's a longer-run game. And this is the way ADRA thinks with that development long-range view. This is a small settlement, a very small settlement in Fiji in a remote area. Getting that installed now gives them the chance to be upgraded to a village. This is a different level that unlocks new benefits from the government, new access to services from the government. There's a long-range view to what this accomplishes for that community. So really awesome to be a part of that. Now, I'm just going to give you some other examples of the impact. So we tackle hunger with Australia and New Zealand, and now also out in the Cook Islands and out in the Pacific. Breakfast clubs. We increased our donations so that this past year we donated more than 6.7 million serves of cereal. And if any of you, have any of you worked as teachers? Anyone from education? A few of you possibly? Yeah. So I'm guessing you will probably nod your head when I say that kids who go to school hungry don't do so well in school. And this is something we see time and time again. When we try to impact a community, our approach is to impact children first, because you influence a child for good, you influence a family for good. You influence a family for good, you influence a community for good. It's a ripple effect. So we start with the children, give them the best start at school. They get to have a spiral upward. Otherwise, it's a spiral downward. So those breakfast programs are so important, and we also increased our breakfast presence out into the South Pacific. So for example, $40,000 donated to support launching breakfast club programs in the Cook Islands. So that's one example of impact, including right here in Victoria, by the way. Of our serves donated to help make an impact, 650,000 serves donated right here in the state of Victoria to make an impact. And a lot of that through our strategic partners, Food Bank, who support over 2,000 charities across Australia. Now, going out to the Pacific, this is ECA. I mentioned the CHIP program, the 10,000 Toes program, that Live More Abundantly program. So this is taking health and well-being and making a tangible impact, not just selling product on the shelf. So Eka suffered from diabetes for 25 years. Now imagine feeling thirsty, hungry, irritable, weak for 25 years. You might be hungry, irritable right now because lunch is coming, but imagine 25 years of feeling that way. So desperate to improve her health, she joined the Live More Abundantly program. And this is part of a CHIP program, so it follows that same framework, helping people have a sustainable way of improving their life and their health on their own. Now, Eka's increased energy levels, improved eyesight, loss of headaches, made a huge difference in her life. And now she's sharing that with friends and family. This also includes her husband, Watasoni. Now, Watasoni has suffered from hypertension for a long time. So for him to make a change, he started to notice increased energy levels, reduced blood pressure, and now he's started a backyard garden so they can get more healthy produce in their diet in a sustainable way. So he's excited. He's become an evangelist for the program as well and extending that impact so others can benefit and have the same experience. But sometimes changing lives through whole person health also means just plain saving lives. Now, this is Marianne. She's one of our Vitality Works nurses who goes and does health assessments with the firefighters in New Zealand. For 9 years, we've had the contract. Vitality Works has had the contract to do all their health assessments and all their health care in the workplace. She's finishing up, end of the day, last person she's doing a health screening for. So on this particular day, we'll call this guy Dan. She says that she registered his blood pressure as a staggering 220 over 120. Yeah, not good. So her first thought is, okay, this is probably a mistake. Let's just take a breath. Let's try this again. Took a deep breath, repeated the reading right away. Let's just see if I got something wrong. The numbers were even higher. So she kept him chatting, probably trying to keep herself calm, and she said, let's just try one more reading, shall we? One more reading, even higher still. So she quickly, discreetly, and quietly goes and talks to the fire chief, says, can you please give him a ride home and get him to the doctor tomorrow morning urgently? No matter what it takes, he has to see a doctor tomorrow morning. The next evening, he was in heart surgery. Her assessment saved his life. Yeah, there's long-term benefit, but sometimes you're there at the moment where this person could drop dead in a day or two because you weren't there to intervene. So imagine having that kind of fulfilling work experience, knowing you got to intervene in a situation that changed someone's life. Now, I'd like to introduce you to a new community care partner of ours, Life Education. Has anyone heard of Healthy Harold before? Healthy Harold the giraffe? Okay. So we've partnered with Life Education. just a short introduction, because this is an exciting new partnership for Sanitarium to help kids learn how to live well and live healthy.
As a parent, I think there's a lot that we need to be thinking about for our kids at the moment. They're being bombarded from so many different angles with messages about health, food choices, nutrition, how to spend their time online, so many different things. So there's a lot of places where children do need support in making good choices, and that's what we're all about at LifeEd. We're really wanting to help children to grow up to be critical thinkers and to know how to make choices that are going to help them to live happier and healthier lives. So LifeEd has been part of the Australian landscape since 1979. We visit hundreds of thousands of students every single year, and we're covering really important subjects that children really need to know about. We've been really fortunate to partner with Sanitarium in the development of this new program, The Inside Story. The Inside Story is such a dynamic and engaging module. Students absolutely love seeing Healthy Harold being shrunk down into a tiny capsule where he's swallowed by kid reporter, Max Questions, and goes travelling throughout Max's body. Through the journey, students learn about the importance of things like sleep, nutrition, being physically active, and they also really get a concept of how all of the body systems work together and what they need to do to keep them functioning at their absolute best. They will be leaving the session with a much deeper understanding about why eating a whole range of different healthy foods is so important to keep all of their body systems working well and thriving. Personally, I am really proud and grateful to be working for an organisation like LifeEd. We see the impact that we're having with students every day. The Sanitarium partnership with LifeEd has been so important. They've also committed to LifeEd's Thrive Fund, where we're really making sure that students who are most vulnerable, remote communities are not missing out on the opportunity to take part in this learning. This year, Sanitarium is committed to providing 3,000 places for students across Australia from these low-ischia communities to take part in the LifeEd program, which is a huge contribution.
So you should have seen, yeah, that's a really exciting partnership. We had a little head office launch event so some of the employees could it's really good to make sure people get to see this because it's not always part of their day-to-day work, this kind of stuff we're doing to support in the community. So we had Healthy Harold, we had one of these mobile vans. In New South Wales, they use a fleet of 40 mobile classrooms that go all across the state. Different states do it in different ways as an organization, but they brought one of those mobile vans and mobile classrooms up to Sanitarium, and you should have seen the dignified working professionals turn into absolute children when they got inside here. Of course, many of them have their own memories as kids with Healthy Harold. Even a couple of employees who came from New Zealand, and they have Healthy Harold New Zealand as well, just really lit up like children. You can imagine how kids respond to this when they have these really engaging ways of learning about health. They have puppets, they have an interactive TV screen. There's a program where this kid reporter shrinks down to a little pill size, and he gets swallowed in the pill so he can go inside and take a look at the body when it's eating good stuff and eating bad stuff. So it's a really exciting way. Again, how can we influence kids to have healthy lives? They can influence families, which influence the community. So I hope you're getting the idea that Sanitarium is a ripping place to work. I mean, you may be wishing you worked there right now. It is a phenomenal place to work. Really great workplace culture. I walk the halls with some of the most high caliber professionals in their fields, and they've all come to Sanitarium because they love what we're about. It's a great place to work with a clear sense of purpose to make an impact in the community. That's not the case with all businesses and all employers these days. So to be able to come to a place like that's very exciting. And Sanitarium, it's all about where people, products, and purpose matter, a company serving goodness. And as we look to attract the best and the brightest, that includes wanting to attract the best and brightest from our church. So who do you know who's looking for a place to really build a meaningful, purpose-filled career, values-driven employer, making a real impact in the community, and using your skills and talents in that way? And of course, you might be thinking, and even thinking back to the days of the Warburton factory, you might think, I don't know if I want to pack Wheat Bix. I'm not sure. There's a lot that goes in to Sanitarium. Innovation, analytical chemists, dietitian, packaging technologists, project managers, research and development. Every one of these categories, there's all kinds of roles and skill sets that go into play in marketing and logistics, corporate roles, purchasing and costing, manufacturing, sales and category. Even category, I never knew what category was when I started in 2014, and I learned that's just a team whose job it is to understand the categories we play in. So to understand breakfast cereal, understand the breakfast aisle, and they understand it so well that Woolies will come to them and say, hey, we're just doing the plan for the year up ahead. What do you guys think? Well, if you're asking us. Imagine having the credibility to influence the retail partners that are so dominant and strong in the marketplace here, because they know we have excellent insights into how help them win in the breakfast aisle and make sure we're present in that same conversation. So who do you know? Who do you know? Is it a cousin? Is it an uncle, a niece, a friend? We want the best and the brightest at Sanitarium. We're a growing business. We have over 1,000 employees just here in Australia. Across Sanitarium Health Food Company, more, of course, when we think of Vitality Works, the health and well-being services as well. Who do you know? Because we need the best, and we need them to dedicate their careers to Sanitarium so we can continue. Maybe to file past this way, or nope, we have another. Stay seated, we'll bring it to you. I love the order from the chaos. We'll just bring it down from chaos to keep it orderly. So I want to thank you so much. We covet your prayers. We appreciate your support in the breakfast aisle and the food aisle. When you see our products, know with confidence that this is an outstanding organization you can be proud of. And you must be seated to receive it. If we see you standing up, we might give you a slap on the hand and a disapproving glance. Not necessarily. But make sure you stay seated. They'll bring the total oat milk by, so make sure everyone gets a chance to have one. And thank you again for supporting Sanitarium, for supporting the group, and I hope you're as proud as I am to be a part of it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Can I just have Darren, don't go yet, just stay here. So while all the freebies are going around, just stay where you are and it'll come to you. Darren, we just want to thank you for sharing this afternoon. I think it's afternoon. Do we have a time? Yeah, afternoon. Thank you, Darren, for sharing with us the commercial side of Sanitarium and also the community services that Sanitarium is presenting out there. But more so this morning, you mentioned, this morning you've been 10 years in service at Sanitarium. Now, I just wanted to say this. If there is no recognition from Sanitarium in naming a ward or a wing after you, well, this afternoon, we as campers of Elmore and the Big Camp, we officially recognize your 10 years of service to Sanitarium. And as of today, till the end of tomorrow, this pavilion is not going to be called the Encounter Pavilion, but it's going to be called Darren's Pavilion. For 10 years of service at Sanitarium. We thank you very much.
I don't know if that's enough time to put a statue or a plaque up, though. It might be a bit rushed. No. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Darren. And on behalf of everyone here too, would like to thank you for providing all the freebies. To you and the company, we thank you very much. Thank you. Family, just as the freebies are coming around, this afternoon at 2:30 we have the Q&A with David and Beverly. So please come along if you have any questions. We'll see you here this afternoon at 2:30. And then, of course, our session tonight starts at 7:30. So we'll see you here tonight at 7:30.
Thank you all for coming. We look forward to seeing you again at 2:30 and 7:30 tonight. 7:30 or? Yeah, 7:30 tonight. Have a lovely afternoon and God bless you all.
God bless everyone.
3 bars. So I'm just changing it now fresh. So that's what happened when I looked at your ratings. So anyway, I'll charge you this. That's it.